Hello there, and welcome to the Counselor's Kitchen, where the food is therapy and the kitchen table is safety. We want to have a conversation today, so we've got just the spot for you right here at the kitchen table, where we talk about life and everything it has to offer. So pull up a seat and join the conversation right here at the Counselor's Kitchen table. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever time you're listening. It's your boy Davion again with another episode of the Counselor's Kitchen Table podcast. And I have a wonderful guest. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, Jess.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jessie. I am the CEO of Lux Giving. I specifically do events for residential communities, but I'm also a business coach that focuses on supporting food and event professionals.
Awesome, awesome. And so how did you get into that?
I got into doing my own event planning company all by, um, it was a faith walk, to be very honest. It was nothing that I ever really thought that I was going to do, or better yet, I thought it was something I would do down the road. I was one of those people that was like, oh, I'll get into the industry after I work my corporate job, get
Hmm.
lavishly wealthy, and then I
Yeah.
can do my passion project
Right.
on the side. But God has that way of guiding us, even in the unexpected. I left corporate America from a really well-paid job to
Mhm.
um, come to a place where I was like, I just want to do something that makes me happy. I wasn't sure what that was. I came across an opportunity to put together a fundraiser event for a nonprofit. And I did it for a residential community. And I was like, wow, I really enjoy this. It started out to only be a goal of doing 5 events, never
Mhm.
a company. And here we are almost 10 years later and
Wow.
doing something that I never knew it was, one, a need, or two, that it would bring me so much happiness.
That's awesome and beautiful. We'll get more into the details in just a second within the interview portion, but I think that's awesome and great message of inspiration for those who are just thinking and have been in that thinking spot for a very long time. Should I? Should I? Should I? Uh,
Mhm.
like many people say, you just never know unless
Yeah,
you try. So, with that being said, we're going to head into our word of the day portion of the episode. And I think it's a very befitting word. The word is ambition. And the
mm,
definition says an earnest desire for some type of achievement or distinction as power, honor, fame, wealth, and the willingness to strive for its attainment. Do you have any thoughts on that specific definition or that word?
I love ambition. Obviously, that's my handle, and I
Yeah.
think ambitious is something I feel like being ambitious, and is like at the heart of it is about embracing creativity.
Hmm.
And I'm glad you chose that word.
Awesome, awesome. So we have a few more definitions. Now that was the longer definition. I'm going to give y'all the other two smaller definitions. The one definition two says desire for work or activity, energy. The third definition says to seek after earnestly or aspire to be. Um, and any other thoughts with those two definitions in mind?
I think that that's kind of the root of where I came up with my handle. So my Instagram handle is Green Eyed Ambition.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, everyone doesn't understand where it came from. Yes, I have light color eyes or whatever.
Right.
Yet that's not the reason why I came up with that name.
Mm-hmm.
The name came from, when you're looking at things with freshness, it's green, it's new. So
Gotcha.
that's why I had green eyed. And then, like, I'm looking at things with freshness and a renewed view. And then
Mm-hmm.
ambition is because it's like an ambitious way. So that's where it came from. So when I hear that second definition, it makes me think of like why I, hey, that
Awesome.
hand.
Awesome. Yeah, so for me, the word really it has kind of a duality or two dynamics to it. Um, One talks about desire, uh, and there's a huge emphasis on the desire. But the third definition, which um, does not necessarily speak to the first two definitions, but like I said, it's the duality. It's the second part of
Yeah.
this definition. It says to seek after. So it's one thing to have desire. It's one thing to want something earnestly. It's one thing to really, really just have that innate desire to want something, to wish something to be, to even want to manifest something. But it's
Mhm.
not until you get to that third definition, which is that second position in ambition, right? Is
Mhm.
to You have to seek after it earnestly and aspire to it, meaning that uh, it has to cause you to want to move, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to look at something and just sit there and admire it and be still and just be in awe of it and just watch. But it's another thing when you have to seek it, meaning it requires some movement, it requires some action, it requires some
Mhm.
faith, it requires some
Yeah.
works. So I think that's the part of ambition that sometimes we get in a daze, but we don't make any kind of movements toward what it is that we desire so heavily, right? So
Yeah.
that's my take on the word ambition. Any piggyback, any feedback off of that?
No, and I think that you saying the ambition, it ties into faith
Hmm.
and works like it does. Like with,
Absolutely.
I mean, to me, I think like being ambitious without the faith or doing the work, it's a I guess a dream, you know,
Yeah, absolutely.
more than anything.
Yes, 100% agreed. And with that in mind, we're going to transition to our food for thought. So, this is our food for thought moment where we dive a little deeper into the story and why we are here. So, uh, Jess, you talked a little bit earlier about kind of how you got started, but let's get a little deeper into that. So, when and where did your passion for your career come from?
Well, I actually was in culinary programs growing up, all the way up into college. I was slated to actually go into a culinary program, but one of the things that made me choose to change in college was the fact that I wanted to really understand business. I knew that there wasn't a shortage of chefs, especially even, I mean, now, of course, but back when I was in school,
Mm-hmm.
I knew what separated the successful ones and the ones that were not able to flourish was the lack of understanding of business.
Right.
So I've always had a passion for the industry. I just knew that I needed to focus on the business aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So when I entered into corporate America, for the years I was there, it was really to learn the things that we don't always learn when we go to culinary school. I knew I can always go back for the trade, but I knew that the business part I would not get unless I was actually in a business. So I've always been passionate about culinary. I then found through doing events that it gave me an opportunity to combine all the things that I love, but then most importantly, partner with people that really love doing the cooking. So I don't have to know how to do it. So as far as how I got into it, my father, he actually paid his way through college as doing French cuisine. So I learned how to cook from my father. Like my first a lot of my youngest memories were the joy of cooking books. Like I
Mm-hmm.
remember bringing strawberry beignets. Here I am, black girl from DC in the 80s when we're the murder capital of the world,
Right.
bringing bringing beignets to her
Beignets.
elementary school. Oh my goodness, I was an interesting person. So I've always been in love with it,
Yeah.
and with doing events, you learn all of the different parts, and that's why I think that the when you mention about the ambition part, that it takes the works and the faith that goes hand in hand, because every chapter that we have in our life is to build upon each other. Like I never would have thought that my little job working in the floral department at the grocery store where I learned how to do upright sprays and floor
Mm,
arrangements would help me as an event planner. Like, who would ever think that when you're just
right.
trying to make money as a teenager? Like, everything can be used in your story.
Yes, absolutely, and that's 100% true. I personally can connect with that because I do catering and things like that. And oftentimes, not always, but there are some times where in an event, I'm not there just to cook. I'm actually coordinating a lot more than
Mhm.
just food. And there are a lot of moving pieces to event coordinating in general, food projects, things like that, a lot of moving pieces. So it definitely takes some ambition, takes some vision, and it also takes a lot of seeking after what it is that you intend to do. So I 100% agree. You use a little bit of everything you got and you put it together and you make it happen. So that's absolutely accurate, especially about the piece of just using things that you thought you would never use and come to
Mhm.
pass that you have to use it in life. So nothing is for naught, and I appreciate that. Now you said you have 10 years of experience, and that's awesome. So I want to know, what was your process of growth and consistency in your business pre-pandemic?
The biggest part for me was always having mentors.
Mm-hmm.
So throughout my whole um, entrepreneurial journey, I have been blessed to have some really great mentors that corrected me,
Yeah.
as well as educated me. I've also had business coaches, but I would say the biggest growth happened when I've been a big reader growing up. I thought I
Mm-hmm.
was doing personal development. I've been big on that. So for anyone that's listening, what helps you is growing you. Like,
Yes.
that's really the core of it. So my biggest shift occurred when I almost like 4 or 5 years ago, I went to a personal development seminar that changed my whole mind
Mm-hmm.
set when it came to how I showed up as an entrepreneur, as myself, as a Black female in a space that isn't normally a lot of diversity in
Mm-hmm.
my specific niche. So just owning who I am, owning what value I offer, that type of self worth really, and growing so that you're leading people. Like, I would never be able to have the type of success that I've had within my company if it was always about me.
Right.
I actually enroll my caterers and partners to find out what are their current focuses, what excites them right now, so I can come up with ideas to actually cultivate and curate an experience for my customer, focusing on what my vendor is wanting to focus.
Mm-hmm.
So I had really almost about four, yeah, like 4.5, like probably like a couple months after I did that personal development workshop,
Mm-hmm.
I had set that I was committed to creating a team of people that really wanted to work together. And where people, I wanted to lead people in a way that they felt like they belonged. Because with event planners, if you might see a Gordon Ramsay yelling and barking. That don't really work for growth. I mean, it works if you're him, but in the real life, if someone talks to someone like me crazy, you're lucky if I come back,
Right.
and I didn't want people that were just working with me because I was paying them. I wanted to work with people that were just as valued, or invested in the business. Where when my you may not know, but my mom had got diagnosed with terminal cancer about in 2018. That
Wow.
when she was diagnosed and I had to leave DC,
Mm-hmm.
they were like, "No, we got this, Jesse."
Right.
Like, they stepped in, they locked arms, and they helped with running things smoothly. So the 3 years I haven't had to physically really be at events, that wasn't because of me. It was because of the people that I started to work with and building those relationships and bonds so that we all were able to grow together. So growing yourself helps you with growing the team, which helps you with scaling the business.
Wow. Yes, absolutely. That's very important. Teamwork makes the dream work. We hear it all the time, and it sounds
Mm-hmm.
very, very true. You have just one foul thing on your team, it really can become infectious, cancerous, even, and really
Mm-hmm.
begins to attack the entire operation. That's
100.
the smoothly. So I completely understand that. Condolences to your mom as well. But my next question is, what were some of your greatest adversities through that growth process in your business, and how did you stay consistent in your practice?
Okay, my biggest growth came in the fact that I was always playing victim and not embracing difficult conversations. Like
Right.
in that personal development seminar, like it hit me that instead of facing, like if things happen, like
Mhm.
that's what happens in business. Things happen. You just learn from them. You clean it up and you move on. What
Yeah.
I would do is because I wanted to blame everyone else when something didn't go right,
Hmm.
or I would avoid conflict, or when something would happen, I would be defensive. Uh,
Mm.
I had to really become present to the fact that that doesn't work.
Right.
So it really doesn't work. So my biggest shift came from really like owning up to like when things went wrong.
Mm.
And I had to be okay with saying that something was went wrong, even though I wasn't the person that did it.
Right. Absolutely.
Where, a lot of times you'll be like, well, they would have got here, no one, your customer doesn't care.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very true. Very true. Oftentimes in that space as well, especially in my experience, they don't even want to talk to who the blame is. They want to talk to the person in charge. They want to talk to the
Yeah.
person, that's kind of heading the ship. And that's always a thing. It's a we talk about and make fun of this Karen culture, but it's real. The first thing they're gonna do is ask for the manager, ask for the person in
Mm-hmm.
the owner. And you oftentimes as owners, we do have to um, what we call save face. We do have to be the one that just eats it up, regardless
Yep.
of who the person is or who the person's at fault. And like you say, we take those moments, we turn them into teachable moments. We give correction where correction is necessary, and we do it in love. Always
Mm-hmm.
should be in love, and never in a place of negativity, because that's where the growth will transpire. So completely, I understand that, and very much experience.
But
Very,
the thing is too is that at the end of the day, as a business owner, when something happens, it's even if someone makes a mistake,
hmm.
chances are we didn't train the person,
Yeah.
and or we stay in the space of, well, this is common sense. Guess what? Common sense isn't common. And the reason why it's not common is because everyone's life experiences are
Mm.
different. Like
Right.
I know I to tell a vendor, a caterer, some
Hmm.
caterers, they naturally are there early. And then there could be some people that think, oh, if I show up and set up right at the start time, that's fine. No,
Mm.
it's not. Not in my world. So
Yeah.
I had to stop allowing the space where people have to guess or
Mm.
assume. If I ever send someone into a situation where they're assuming anything occurs, isn't their fault, it's mine. I did
Right.
not communicate it.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. So, and that's something that definitely for business owners, that's something you have to be able to embrace in order to be a successful business owner. So, for
Mhm.
sure, I completely agree. All right, my next question says, so life happens to all of us, and when you're a business owner, you're not exempt from the rest of those things in life that happens, right? And so you had mentioned about your mother earlier. How did you deal with life happening within the confines of taking care of your mother and still continuing to be consistent in your business?
Okay, that's a great question because I think at times people don't realize that things will always show up. It's just
Mm-hmm.
how we actually adjust and adapt to them.
Yes.
So, in the time of finding out about my mom, we found out that actually on her 61st birthday,
Oh
which is
wow.
unfortunate, that she had 5 months, 5 months to a year to live,
Mm.
due to the type of cancer that she had. So at that moment, the lessons that I had to learn through that time was that I can either not address or face what was going on, which
Mm.
ultimately hurts everyone that's involved. Myself, my how I'm showing up for my mom,
Right.
the people that work with me. I had to one be able to communicate with people what was really going on and allow myself to go through that process. And what I had to do was not be committed to things being the way they used to be. So when I say that as a caregiver, as much as I wanted to be able to be at my computer doing all the work things from 9 to 5, that doesn't work when you're taking care of someone. And most importantly, when someone's terminally ill, you don't
Right.
want it to be that all of your memories are just based off of you working. And
Mm-hmm.
for us, we actually did a bucket list as well. So it was for one of the things for myself, I had allow myself to find creative solutions for dealing with the adversity that I had. I had a accountability partner because I was actually still in that personal development curriculum that I was in, and they still called me every week. We talked about if it was just about dealing with the grief or if it was dealing with focusing on the good things that were going on. Like I had someone that was I was able to that was able to hold a space for me. I think that sometimes we hear in society that you can't trust people, don't tell everybody that. We hear all of these negative things about relationships. In
Yeah.
reality, one may not be worth hearing your experience, but
Mm.
there are people that are worthy of hearing it and being in that space. So when you're facing adversity and facing those challenges, I had to one be present to what was I actually committed to. I wanted my mom's best day, her last days to be her best days. That
Yeah.
was my commitment. My second commitment was that I still wanted to make sure that I fulfilled the things that were going on in my business,
Mm-hmm.
and do that in a new way. So we still had growth, even though I was not as active in
Mm-hmm.
my business. We still had growth. I had an admin assistant that helped me. So
Yes.
that meant that I wasn't able to do everything. And I tell people like my best year was the year after my mom passed away. And it wasn't because I was like head down. I let myself feel the things I got to feel. I
Right.
don't try to numb myself because if what you ignore will eventually rock
Mm.
your world, you either handle it or it handles you.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that I didn't go to that experience causing more damage to myself than that was necessary because I couldn't change that situation. I can just change how I viewed it and how I showed up in it. So the next thing I would even say outside of sharing with people is having you a squad of people that are going to hold for you. Like my accountability partner, who was actually my instructor in that program, she's like, because when I found out my mom was diagnosed, I was
Mm-hmm.
actually I was heading into my class.
Mm.
Um, and my instructor, she pulled me over and we're just having a conversation and talking. And she asked me, I think I might have looked a little off or whatever.
Mm.
And we talked about it. And she's like, and you still showed up for class. And she's like, you're still present to what you're up to. Like my mom wouldn't want to know that I've gave up on life. And she was my
Right.
biggest cheerleader. She
Mm-hmm.
she had the most amazing dreams and visions for who I could be and
Yeah.
what I can accomplish. So not showing up, it's not fulfilling the legacy. It's not fulfilling what purpose God's put on my life. You know, like we're all going to experience loss at some point. And so when I showed up, my instructor, she was like, "You're so present to who you are for people
Mm-hmm.
that," she's like, "I will not give up on you." So
Wow.
she committed to calling me every week to talk to me, to just check on how I was doing, because that was her commitment to me, because she didn't want for me to go into a hole on things that I can't change. I couldn't change her diagnosis. I couldn't. All I could control was how I showed up for the people that I cared about. That was it. And so that was a daily commitment for me, was how was I going to show up? How will I um be for her, as well as how would I be for me? Because if I didn't take care of me, I couldn't take care of her. Like that's what people forget. Like if
Yeah.
you can't give others what you don't give to yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, that was a long answer, but it's just
Good.
the
That's
truth.
good. It's good. No, it's absolutely good. And again, my condolences to you and respects to your mom. I completely understand. Again, I lost my mom back in 2018, so I completely understand and can relate. And fortunately, but unfortunately, I did not have that same kind of support when I lost my mom. But God works with us in the ways that He knows what's best for us. So it really taught me to trust God and depend on God no matter what. And I think that it's beautiful that just like you say, my mom, she started this catering business and this catering sort of doo-wop and things of that nature. And so I just continued it. And I'm so grateful that she started it, because who knows, with my
Yeah.
temperament or whatever, I probably would have never gotten it started. But because she, like you said, aligned with the visions and the dreams and the potentials that she saw in me and in others. She started something, and God allowed me to continue in it. So I'm very grateful for that. And so, with that in mind, everyone knows that we always have a quote of some sort that I read or hear, and I like to get the guests' take on it. So here's one for you. And it says, "A business is only as valuable as the one who leads it. You can't
Hmm.
expect authentic success using generic practices." What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%. You can't, you can't fake it. Like
Yeah.
leadership is everything. Like leadership is leadership requires growth. Like I don't think that people like Oprah didn't become Oprah because Oprah was about herself.
Mm-hmm.
People don't become successful unless they learn how to lead. And the thing about it is that we're either being led knowingly or unknowingly. We're leading people and teaching people by our actions indirectly or directly. So that is a like that's why when you said the first I was like, yep. Like
Mm-hmm.
because it's so true,
Yeah.
because leadership is everything. And if a person isn't taking the time to cultivate and grow as such,
Mm-hmm.
you'll always see the reflection in the results that they're producing, either high turnover, loss of friendships consistently, poor integrity. Like you can tell a person that is of good integrity and of good leadership
Mm-hmm.
without them even really talking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And one of my past episodes with Ursula Chambers, she talked about her just kind of off-putting um, thoughts on management and most companies and how they develop management and build management and things like that. And typically it's just not. in a supportive way, which is very true. This quote speaks to me, especially the second part about not being able to expect authentic success using generic practices. To me, it talks about something that you stated earlier, which was owning your your downfalls, and knowing how to own that and build from that. And so
Mhm.
part of what makes leadership um, important in this regard, in the regard of the quote, is that you have to be able to be you, and you have to
Mhm.
know in order to be you. And so everything doesn't work for everybody. Every practice
Yeah.
doesn't everybody. Every 10-step program does not work for everybody. Business, you have to be able to, because at the end of the day, the entity of the business is always reflecting on you and your character. So you have to know that wherever flaws you may have in your character, or whatever flaws you may have in your the way you go about things, all of those things will reflect eventually in your business if you don't check them, and if you don't gauge what practices and what steps you need to put in place in order to make those things happen smoothly. And so it
Mhm.
really is a deep dive in you, so that you have the capability of working on you, as you said before, and then presenting that into the nature of your business. Because ultimately, like I said, the business is going to reflect on you, your ideals, your principles, your beliefs, your character. All of those things will be exposed by the way you do your business.
Yeah.
Um, and so, my next question is, what is the importance of being uniquely you in the way you pursue or practice your passion?
Because and I love that question because you are you. I
Mm-hmm.
think that at times I do understand how it can be tempting to look at the left and the right and
Yeah.
like figure like, okay, do I need to be more of this and da da da? Like, no, you be you, be
Mm-hmm.
true to who you're wanting to actually attract and be a part of your tribe. Like everyone isn't intended to be for every person. Like you can have the most popular individual that still have people that hate on them all day long. You
Mm-hmm.
know, like, and so I think that when you embrace who you are given the freedom to one, show up authentically.
Yeah.
Like, you know how exhausting it is to not be you? Like,
Mm-hmm.
this is me at level 10. Like, if I was like, oh my God, what? Like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like that just drained me trying to do that. Like, I don't got, like, this is me.
Right.
Like I talk in my tone, people know, like that's why I even choose more calmer colors even with my branding stuff. Is because this is me. I don't want for anyone to think that I'm going to be this high energy kind of individual. That's just not who I am by nature. I show up powerfully
Mm-hmm.
as myself, but me showing up powerfully doesn't have to be being someone else. I think that when we allow ourselves to really embrace us, then you have the ability to really showcase yourself in the way that you want to showcase yourself. I remember, like, my business coach, I had told him that I felt that I had to look a certain way to go into meetings. I'm like, oh my gosh, like the thought of wearing a suit, I dry heave at that. Like, I am not that business owner. And I went on this whole rant with him. He's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, he's like, have you ever seen this person with a suit on? And, you know, these are like, he's naming like these millionaires that
Yeah.
like a figureheads. He's like, do you that are business owners, not celebrities.
Right.
So I mean, they're celebrities because they are business owners, but not because that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, "Do you see this person? This person?" I was like, "No." He's like, "So why do you think you have to be a certain way?" And I had to address that some of it is based off of color and experience, race and experience, as well as coming from corporate America,
Yeah.
where I remember being penalized because I wasn't wearing black and gray suits in DC. I was wearing red and bright colors because
Mm-hmm.
legitimately I don't own a lot of black or or those type of things. Like I'm a bright color outfit kind of person.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember that I thought I had to be something else to be successful. In reality, all I have to do is be me
Right.
all day, every day.
Absolutely. That's wonderful, and it's definitely something to kind of keep in the back of your mind, or at least just keep somewhere in your mind that you, uh, especially when it comes to your business, you are the most important element of your business. So, absolutely. And one thing I always attribute to working at CarMax, selling cars and things like that, is the training. At least the trainer, the mentor that trained me, she
Mhm.
told me, she said, "You're not selling cars, you're selling yourself. So as long as somebody can relate to you, like you, get to know you, whatever, feel personable with you, they're always going to buy a car from you." And it's so true. I have customers that text me to this day, "Are you still there? Are you still selling cars?" But I can find somebody that might help you. But literally, I have customers that I get them all the time out of the blue randomly. I'm ready to trade a car in. Hey, I still got that car you sold me. It's still kicking, but I'm thinking about getting a new one. Because of me, I brought
Yeah.
myself to the equation. So, my last question is, we talked a little bit about pre-pandemic, pre-COVID. I know, and her
Mhm.
transition and that happening right before, or just kind of in that general area of COVID getting ready to come. So COVID has hit. We're in it almost 2 years now. What
I
is the
know.
most important? What is the importance? I'm sorry, of having a new attitude about doing business in this new climate.
It's really like let go of I can't wait to things getting back to normal. Like
Hmm.
they're going to be what they're going to be. And I think it's important for us to be open to what that new normal is going to be within our business. I have gone like the last 3 years. I'm actually going to start seeing a therapist because I'm sure that something has created trauma at some point,
Right.
that may be unbeknownst to me at this point. But I'm gonna dig into that. But so for the simple fact that I do corporate events.
Hmm.
So I went from having, I think, like 20 St. Patty's Day parties all canceled within like 7 days.
Yeah.
But people had me hold money because, oh, it's gonna turn back around, and a
Hmm.
couple of weeks, like they were like, oh, just hold on to the money. This is gonna pass. We'll be fine,
Right.
you know. And then after like 45 days, they're like, okay, well, I guess we got to figure out a solution. So I kept pivoting a
Hmm.
bunch, but eventually in October of 2020, I was tired of pivoting. I was very defeated. I felt I had all of the emotions that went along with it. I wasn't trying to fire, not fire. I wasn't trying to let go of my team. I was blessed to have like 6 months worth of expenses saved up. But then when you're, beyond that point, at that point, I just didn't know what to do. Um, because like in 2019, the company, we did 503 events. We did almost $400,000 in revenue.
Hmm.
So we're like my business coach. I'm like, all right, this year we went into 2020. Like this is going to definitely be over 500,000 year. We're going to go into different markets, had all those goals in play to then have it just swipe away. So
Right.
I lost a lot. And I think that going into this post pandemic world of what it is, there was something to learn from it. Like
Hmm.
as much as I could have gone without losing a lot of money, like from 2019 to 2020, it was $220,000 in revenue difference.
Wow.
And yeah, so like it was a lot of money
Yeah.
that, you know, so,
Right.
and I'm fresh off of losing a parent,
Hmm.
plus losing the business. And then I'm in a state that I necessarily, because I went down there to take care of my mom, and then the pandemic happened. I was like, well, I'm not making money. I need to stay here where it's not necessarily wanting to be there. So I was having different losses, loss of identity, loss of business, loss of
Hmm.
family, loss of self. So I was pretty beat up, about all that was experienced. But with all of that said, to answer the question, is that I actually was talking to my coach about it this week. As much as I could have gone without the traumas
Mhm.
from this experience, it I wholeheartedly believe that on the other side, so much more amazing things are going to be there. Like, I have been able to create a more profitable business structure. I have
Yeah.
more clarity on what I want for my business to look like, because I thought we had a diverse portfolio, but
Mhm.
if it's all in the same market, it's not diverse. Because so I had
Right.
to realize, like, okay, if you're solely relying on this income stream or this specific kind of client, that's risky. You never want to have everything on one leg.
Right.
So in this post pandemic world, it's not about, I can't wait to get things back to normal. I
Mhm.
can't wait for things to get back to being better than they were before. And really looking and learning. Like, I am a firm believer, even in moments of loss, there's always something to learn. I learned things that I never would have done. Like, I would have never become a business coach. I don't think that I am naturally a selfish person, but to coach people, you have to show up for people,
Yes.
even when they're full of it, because
Mhm.
we are naturally full of it. And when you're
Yeah.
coaching someone, they're going to throw all of their lies and excuses to you without them knowing that they're lying and giving you excuses. I never knew until the pandemic that I can hold space for people in that capacity.
Mhm.
So I had to learn, in this post pandemic world, is that even though I experienced loss, I've been able to expand within who I want as my event business. Who do I want to be within my own brand? I've also
Mhm.
learned how to show up for other people and using that as my ministry as well. So, if for anyone is listening that's like, okay, post pandemic world, because we kept seeing all these people like, oh, I pivoted and I made six figures. We see
Mhm. Yeah.
all of these all of these anomalies. It's not even all, a few
Right.
anomalies to what a bunch of people are not experiencing, then we
Mhm.
think that something is wrong.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't necessarily have like a huge success within my first year as a business coach, I learned a lot about myself as a business coach in my first year. So I would recommend for anyone, whatever goals you're having in this post-pandemic world, don't 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 discount your progress,
Mhm.
and just keep learning.
Yes. Yes, that's beautifully said. And that does speak a lot about um the type of attitude that we ought to have when things happen. That word, and I hear it all the time, is pivot, right? And
Hmm.
it doesn't mean that you have to just, uh, I mean, gut the entire operation. It doesn't mean that you have to demolition the entire inside of the house. It does not mean that you have to,
Yeah.
uproot all of the plants. It just simply means take a small tilt, a small turn, a small something that will put you on a different trajectory. And that's all it takes sometimes. And so it definitely does speak to that importance of having a new attitude and a new climate, because oftentimes, like you've stated, we're looking for things to get back to normal when we should be looking for new opportunities and a new normal, or create
Hmm.
those opportunities, because this is something that majority of people have never seen in their lifetime before. So you have an opportunity to really do something new, something innovative, something unique, and capitalize on it. So,
And then doing something that actually brings you joy. There's a lot
yeah.
of ways to make money. And I
Mm,
don't want for people to be chasing after things because they see others make money doing it and it doesn't fulfill them. I think that, yes, in this post pandemic world, we all have been exposed to different ways to grow as individuals, as
mhm.
brands. But just because someone else is doing it doesn't mean that you have to do it, because you don't want to be creating your own personal hell. Like,
Yeah.
just because you can make money. Like, I am an attractive woman. I get that. I know that there are girls that are probably just as pretty and they're half naked on Instagram and they're making a lot of money. Do I
Mm-hmm.
want to do that? No. Like, like, you can do these things, but
Mm-hmm.
do you want the result that comes with it? No,
Yes. Yeah.
I don't. Like, so
Absolutely. So, with that in mind, we are in our takeaway portion of the show. We give you guys a challenge, an expectation, something that we're going to set forth for the next 7 days. And I always love feedback from you all. So, continue to feedback. I just found out there's a way that I can do polls on Spotify, I believe, and possibly Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. So, I'm putting out polls. I'm going and revising episodes, putting out polls. Be sure to answer those polls and those questions. That helps me understand exactly where you are. And of course, you always connect with me, email, Instagram, and all those good things. So continue to do so. So yeah, we're at the takeaway portion. Go ahead and give us your takeaway.
the takeaway I would give to anybody is whatever happened in 2021, what was your goal when you first started? And
Mm-hmm.
just take time to go through and celebrate your progress, regardless if you hit the goal or not. Celebrate the progress that you've made of
Yeah,
going towards it and just reset yourself for 2022. So look at your 2021 goal, review it, and then figure out what you want to celebrate on the progress that you've been able to accomplish. That's
absolutely.
my takeaway.
That's a wonderful goal. And with that in mind, we're getting ready to embark on a new year. So my takeaway is, especially, and this isn't just specifically for business owners. This is for all who just have, even because the truth of the matter is, you can have your managers listen to this, have owners of the places you work at listen to this. So it's very universal. But just to give you a headspace, even offer a perspective that you can take on as a worker, as an employee, understand what it's like to own a business, even. But with that in mind, we're coming into a new year. Of course, we always want to focus on New Year, New You, New Year resolutions, and all these great things and wonderful things. But if 2020 and 2021 taught us anything, it really taught us that your plans are really, it just, now that don't mean you don't have to make plans, but at the end of the day we have to really understand something is, and it's that no matter how much we plan, no matter how much we talk about it, no matter how much we write it down, no matter how much we do all of those things, life has a way of bringing us just what we need, even in the way that it may not feel good and we may not understand it. But life always has a way of bringing us just what we need, when we need it, and how we need it. And so, as we're embarking on this new year, my challenge would be, forget the New Year's resolutions, forget the weight loss goals, forget all of the millions of plans you can make about how you're going to do this, that, thus, and so, and then forget about it in 3 weeks. What I really would challenge all of us to do is make a list of what we want to see out of life for the next year, what we want to get out of life for the next year. And what that literally means, we're not talking about a check, we're not talking about money. What I'm talking about is, if I want to have a healthier relationship within the confines of my marriage, that's a life goal that I can seek. If I want to have a healthier relationship with my children, that's a life goal that I need to seek out. If I want to have a closer relationship with God, that's a life goal that I need to seek out. If I want to have a greater sense of security financially, that doesn't mean just making money, but that also means that you can pay your bills with the money you're making, and you can also live comfortably and stress free and worry free. Those are life goals that we need to seek out from life. And the thing about it is that if we're seeking that from life and trusting God, then life will show us exactly how to get out of life what we need from life. So that is my challenge to you all. Look at your life. Look at the overall value of your life, and look and seek things from life this year, not just throwing your LBs and all that kind of stuff in there. No, look for real life goals. Seek them out in ambition. Seek
Yeah.
them out. Seek them out. And so that's my takeaway. Anything else you have, Jess?
No, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'm glad and grateful for the opportunity for for us to connect, outside of Instagram and be able
Hmm.
to talk to see how we can do this podcast. So thank you for giving me the chance to speak on your platform. I don't take these things lightly, and thank you so very much.
Thank you very much for coming in. And I'm just going to ask you to give your salutations as well as all your information anywhere that the people can find you. Let them know.
Sure. For anyone that wants to connect, my Instagram is, or all of my platforms are uniform. It's Green Eyed Ambition. So greeneyedambition.com, Instagram, Green Eyed Ambition, as well as my Twitter, which I am not active on, but you can find me on Pinterest on there. But
Oh,
those are the ways you can connect with me. But I'm always on Instagram, as active as I can be.
And do you have a website as well if anybody's
Yeah.
looking for business
Yeah.
inquiry?
So greeneyedambition.com is my website. I do also have a Patreon community where
Mhm.
it's created for a community for supporting food and event professionals, where I share some of my behind the scenes stuff. I'm going to be doing that more actively going into 2022, to be pouring into them. So if you are looking for that kind of support, feel free to go onto Instagram. I have a link in my bio for Patreon. My Patreon is called the Hospitality Club. So
Mhm.
I'm always looking for some like-minded people to join.
Absolutely. And as always, every all the links and all that good stuff will be put in the description of this video or podcast. And again, I'm very, very grateful for my guests. As I tell you guys at the end of every episode, please go and be great because you are. Each and every one of you are great. Greatness is in you. And I'm just very, very grateful for this platform, this opportunity. Again, you guys have no idea how much I love, love, love hearing that you are blessed from the podcast. And there are many, many more people to come, many more concepts. I have a new Instagram, TCK Table Podcast, TCK underscore Table Podcast. That'll be linked in as well. Y'all follow that. That's where I'm going to start putting polls and other things as well. So, again, go and be great because you already are. Thank you so much again, Jess, and y'all have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye
You
bye.
too. Bye bye.